our pastor of Connections, Pastor Trace Edwards. Pastor Trace Edwards.
What a fellowship, what a joy divine, leaning on the everlasting arms. I might be in the wrong place tonight. What a fellowship, what a joy divine, leaning on the everlasting arms. I'm tasked with bringing to you the first word that came from the cross out of Luke 23 and 34. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Father, forgive them. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And I've entitled this small little Easter speech, "It's hard to take offense." What an odd response to such an overtly offensive occurrence that Jesus from the cross would ask for the acquittal of his assailants while they were yet in the act of assaulting him. It's an odd response to an overtly offensive occurrence that Jesus would ask for the acquittal of his assailants while they were performing the assault. So antithetical is this to the human condition today that the first words Jesus spoke from the cross should be listed among the miracles that he performed. Because we live in a society where we are hashtag TTG. That's trained to go. So offended have most of us been in our lives that we actually leave our houses on defense. Some of us don't even get to leave the house on defense. We wake up on defense, preparing ourselves to be offended by the stranger in our bed. Whether that stranger is your spouse or that stranger is just your yesternight thing. We wake up ready to be offended by our children. We are hard-pressed to make it from the safety of our homes into the places where we work without suffering offense. Google defines offense like this: the perceived annoyance, the perceived violation, the perceived infraction upon a person from another party or person. It's so important to put that word perceived in there, because offense is really all about perception. Here it is. On many Sundays in fall and winter, we prepare ourselves to watch 22 men descend upon a 100 by 40-yard field. While on there, they pummel each other. They crash into each other, they tackle each other, they throw each other on the ground. They engage in physical activity that anywhere outside of that chalk, it would be deemed felony assault. And yet at the end of 4 quarters, they're able to high five, to hug the opposing team, and even hold conversations without feeling offended. Not just that, Donna. You have 2 men that get into an 8x8 or 9x9 or 10x10 or whatever the dimensions of a boxing ring are. And for 12 rounds, they do their best to knock one another out. And at the end of the boxing match, you will see them hug one another, congratulate one another. The loser sometimes even holding up the glove of the winner, showing that there was no offense suffered. Yet you and I, those who are called by Christ's name can hardly suffer somebody turning in front of us without using their signal, without becoming offended. We can hardly endure somebody not posting happy birthday on our Facebook page without feeling offended. But there is something that I think is similar between Jesus, who was dying on the cross, and in the midst of dying, prayed for those who were perceived to be killing him. There's a similarity between him and the football players and the boxing players that we seem to miss out on. There is something about how seriously they take their profession that as professed Christians we miss. I'd like to give them to you and then get out of your way. The first thing that I see that Jesus and the boxer and the football player have that we miss, that leave us offended so often and so deeply, is that all three of them know their place. While the football player, the boxer may not know their place in the world, they know their place on the field. They know their place in the ring. They know the purpose in which they are there. It's hard to be offended when I know why I'm here. It's hard to go in the gym and throw in the towel when I know that there's a purpose in the pain. It's hard to be in the boxing ring and get offended at the person that's throwing punches on me when I've been trained for this. Jesus knew his place. And for somebody here today, your struggle is just not knowing your place. You live under the banner of Christianity, but have not yet realized God's purpose for your life. And so it becomes offensive when others don't validate who you believe yourselves to be. They changed the channel on me. I'm going to come over here. It's hurtful when people don't support who other people say that you are. And so when they talk to you a certain kind of way, you find yourself saying stuff like, they must not know who I am. Oh, you got the right one today. Never in the scripture do you hear Jesus saying, Peter, you better tell him about me. For somebody get hurt. Not only does Jesus know his place, but Jesus keeps up with God's pace. For somebody, your struggle is, it's not that you don't know why God has put you here. It's that it's not happening fast enough. And so when the promotion goes to somebody else and not you, you're offended. When the accolades go to somebody else and not you, you're offended because you know your purpose, but you need everybody else to affirm your purpose by putting you on the fast track because you have not got yourself to trust God's pace. But Jesus knew that it was his time for the cross. They didn't kidnap Jesus. They didn't take Jesus away. Jesus walked up to them and surrendered himself because it was his day to die. He told his disciples that I'm going away before Pilate ever said, crucify him. And when you know your place and you accept God's pace, things don't happen to you. Things happen for you. Oh, I gotta go. But I wonder why Paul wrote, all things work together for good for them that love God and are the called according to his purpose. All things don't feel good, but Miss Donna, I can rejoice in all things because I know that they work for my good. That's why I didn't fly off the handle when I got fired. That's why I didn't fly off the handle when the relationship did not work out. That's why I didn't fly off the handle when I swiped my ATM card and the cashier said, sir, do you have another card? Because I know that all things work together. I'm sorry to bore you all with this, but not only did Jesus know his place, not only did Jesus accept God's pace, but finally, as I take my seat, Jesus was a good steward of God's grace. That's where I got to take my clothes. I'm sorry, my time is up. But Jesus was a good steward of God's grace. In the middle, they didn't get it yet, so I'm going to try my left side. I said, Jesus was a good steward of God's grace. Here's what it looks like, because I don't want you to be fooled. Many times when this verse is preached, they talk about how Jesus forgave those who were doing him wrong. But a careful read of the text says that Jesus went beyond just forgiving them, but Jesus prayed for them that they might receive the same grace that that he had received. And that's when it shows that you know who you are, you know where God's taking you. When the very people that hurt you, you can pray for them and ask God to give them the same thing he's giving you. I wish I had a church here tonight when you can ask God to bless your enemies and help them to see that he has a plan for them just like he's got a plan for you. Oh, shucks. That's what it feels like when you say that. When you know that the grace of God is big enough to capture the broken hearts of your enemies and make them surrender to the same love that captured you, then nothing will ever offend you, because you truly know that all things, I said all things. I wish I had 3 people right here. I'll make 4. All things work together for the good of them who love the Lord and are the called according to his purpose.
Yeah, I think Pastor Trace one time for that awesome word.